Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have a wild game to share with you from round 6 of Uzchess Cup 2025. This was played on June 24th. On the white end, Praggnanandhaa playing against Richard Rapport. Okay, the opening we have here, King's Indian defense, white going for the Sämisch. Let's see how black handles this trio. Let's get some more development in here. A6. A step in the direction of challenging the trio. B5 now prepped. Bishop E3, knight Bd7, and after queen D2, sure enough, B5 on board. Now, white does not take twice on B5, carries on here with H4 looking for a break on the king side. What's the story if white goes for a pawn? Let me give you a feel for the compensation black would have. Clearly, rook activity without the A pawn. The other detail, C6 is a useful move to get in. It now hits with tempo. C6 useful in not only taming this knight, but also supporting an eventual D5 advance. So in this position, if there's a capture, knight recapture D5 nearby, if let's say rook D1, D5 straight away, the center will be red hot at a moment when black is already castled, and the white king still 3 moves out from castles. So that could be a very difficult move to meet the opening up of the center like this. White does not bite, does not take twice on B5. H4 it is. H5, no H5 for white. Queenside castles, battle lines drawn. Opposite sides castles game ahead. E5, hitting the weak point in white's camp. D4 is a hole. The response here, D5, space for white. And now comes knight B6. Want that square for the knight. Bishop for knight exchange. Okay, that was the good bishop being exchanged for the knight. Black's unopposed bishop, for the moment, under control. Pawn fixed here on E5. We have the capture on B5. A takes B. From here, king B1, knight captures B. There's rook takes A, so king B1 it is. Sensible. Getting off of the open file as well. B4, knight B5. And now, let me throw this one to you as a pop quiz. What is your move here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, did you spot this top move? We have a piece sacrifice here with knight takes D5. White's response is pawn captures knight. If queen captures knight, that runs into bishop E6. Targeting the queen, A2 is going to collapse. Pawn takes knight it is. F5 now available for the bishop. Hops right to it with check. White now in a pin. A2 pawn pinned. From here, nice rook lift, B4 secure, B4, in plenty of cases, an important attacker. Now, white's response here is knight C1, anticipates more pressure on this pinned pawn. With this rook lift, queen A8, its battery is right around the corner. So if white tries to disturb this bishop here with knight G3, you could ignore it. Queen A8 is there, and bishop D7, by this point, the bishop would be overloaded. 2 jobs too many. And there's now a threat to swipe the knight and crash through on A2, and this knight not so bright here on G3. By this point, computer says run. Allow the capture on B5 and A2. The attack continues from there. Okay. White correctly anticipates the pressure here on A2. Knight C1 it is. Queen D7, kingside piece is developed, bishop secure, and now the dark square bishop, the unopposed dark square bishop, now sees the world. There are multiple pins in the position, B2 and A2. Now, white's reply here is bishop B3. There's a couple of moves I want to draw some attention to. I wondered about this capture on E4, as well as knight D4, capitalizing on a weakness of black's last move. This is now available for the knight, it seems. If pawn captures pawn is played here, the idea would not be to follow up and land this skewer. The idea would be to say, e4 is now officially a hole. And this is where we could see the b pawn now play an immediate role. b3 is there, targeting the bishop for a second time. And if it moves to collect that b pawn, there's rook takes e4. This is considered winning for black. Look at these two bishops. Doesn't get much better than that. Working in on these adjacent diagonals towards that white king. So that's what may happen if white captured here on e4. The other one, knight d4, how can you respond to this? You could capture on f3, give up this unopposed bishop for the knight, and yet again, this is where we could see the b pawn play a role. b3 is there, working on this pin. Now, careful how you play this position here as white. If a3, there is queen c7. Big problem, multiple pins here. Bishop in big trouble. Another detail, this would be a cool finish. If white is excited in this position about landing a fork, there's a checkmate in 2. With rook captures knight, rook captures rook, rook captures a2, game over. Okay. How it is played in the game. After the bishop's eyes are opened up, we have bishop b3, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, and rook to a5, questioning the knight. White's reply here is bishop to c4. This is considered losing. Now, with best play, this is how the computer wants to run it. It says best, put the knight on d4. Why wasn't knight d4 played? Well, it does run into 2 minor pieces for a rook continuation. Available to black is rook captures knight, and then bishop captures knight. All right, this is considered the top continuation. How it is played here, we have bishop c4, another pop quiz for you. How would you continue here? Feel free to pause the video. All right, did you spot this wild move? We have bishop c2. What's going on with bishop c2? The bishop is on its way to challenging this knight through a4. Looks to rattle the rook position. White's reply is rook d2. The big question, why not capture the bishop? If you capture the bishop, there would now be a third pin in the position. Bishop would now be pinned. Queen captures knight would be there. Bishop takes queen, rook captures queen. This is winning for black. How are you solving the problem on b5 and b2? White doesn't have a good answer here. You save the bishop. This is not a fun position to be in here. The white king, unavoidable, discovered check coming up. Okay. We do not see the capture here on c2. Rook d2 it is. This does leave the back rank a little bit more vulnerable. Bishop a4 is the follow-up. Knight d4. And now black shifts his attention to the c file. The bishop pinned. White tries to clog up the c file. Inserts knight c6, bishop takes knight, and we see knight b3 here. If white simply recaptures on c6, this will be triple trouble. This is going to collapse fast. A bishop move, you collect this knight. Okay. White's play from here after the capture on c6, knight b3. Black now goes for an exchange sacrifice. Rook captures bishop, queen captures rook, bishop b5. The material count here, we're looking at 2 bishops and a pawn versus a knight and rook. Where do you go with the queen? Double attack currently on the queen. She goes to e4 here. If queen captures b4, the queen will be lost. There's rook c4, only safe square, a3. Rook a4, she's dead. So, the move here, queen e4, bishop c4, rook c2, b5. Gluing this piece in, looking to now maybe shift the attention elsewhere. E-file, A-file, knight c1 is played here if this bishop is challenged. Knight d2, for instance, there's queen a7, and on knight captures bishop, yet again, we could see this dangerous b-pawn play a role. b3 is there, targeting the rook and paving the way for checkmating 1. Okay, white's response here after b5, knight c1, follow up rook e8, queen f4, queen a7. White gives some material back at this point. It's big trouble. There's a threat here by black to chop on a2. We see rook captures bishop here. There's this idea to take, knight takes, and b3 yet again. Also note, getting out of this pin on the a file with king b1 does not help. You could still chop on a2, and yet again, my favorite move to cover in this game here, b3 would be there with a fork. Okay, how it is played here, white gives some material back, exchange sacrifice on c4, b3. This is such a nice move. White's reaction is rook d1. What's the story if it's captured? With the knight or the queen? Let me touch on each. If queen captures pawn, there's rook b8. b2 is going to collapse. Okay. And what's the story if knight captures pawn? e2 is no longer under control. The queen could now enter here on the second rank, threatening mate in 1, and immediately follow up with adding a third attacker on this point. This knight is no match for this bishop. Just completely outclassed in this game. How are you supposed to defend b2 at this point? To crawl up into a ball with queen c1, and that's not going to last long. There's rook c2 here. b2 is going to collapse. So, however white tries to capture this pawn, there's going to be a problem. Plays rook d1. B takes a. Queen takes a. No queen exchange. Look at this king throughout the whole game. Not even breaking a sweat. Black by this point just going hunting for pawns. All of white's pawns are isolated. 2 of them a target now. We see queen b3. And after rook e3, white finally has had enough and resigned. Balanced material, no counterplay whatsoever against the black king. Never broke a sweat. Black's ready to collect material from here, and white is completely bottled up. Has to stay trained defending b2. I tested out a couple moves here. It goes nowhere. Knight d3, so what? Collect a pawn, throw the knight in a pin, pressure on a rook. Also, if let's say a check is inserted, you don't have to worry about this pawn falling. There'd be mate on b2. Let's say knight d3 in this position. Queen c2 is going to win some material. A piece shortly. So, no hope for white in this final position. No counterplay whatsoever. What a wild game we had here. Anyhow, your thoughts on this one? Feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.